Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars.
The show that takes you through every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to today.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ryan.
And today we're fighting against a very stubborn pop filter that Ryan karate chopped.
Well, it's up to interpretation. You say karate chopped, I say mimicking a meme on the internet that referenced the Jamiroquai music video of him sliding towards the camera. Who can say?
Listen, you know how they say, like, yeah, you're supposed to use your palm against the nose. Boom.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. Ladies, it's effective. Use it.
Yeah, definitely.
Destroyed the pop filter.
The pop filter flew off. Currently, we're using, some say electrical tape.
Some say rigger tape.
Some say that. So we're currently using that. So if you start hearing my P sounds, I guess, like... If you start hearing that like too much, that's because the filter fell off.
I wish it would have fell off in that moment. So it was just like...
just
super intense laser sounds.
But very funny that you say that we're fighting against the oppression of a pop filter.
Yes.
Because that's very fitting for what we're talking about today.
Super accurate, really.
Yeah.
A one-to-one comparison.
Yep.
So today we're talking about The Secret Agent.
Sure are. That's correct.
I thought you were going to have something great.
No, we are. The Secret Agent, this is kind of the... we talk about F1 being the surprise of the nomination list. I think Secret Agent really, not a huge surprise, but it really did kind of rise to the top very quickly. It played at the Cannes Film Festival, and it did specifically win the Best Film and Best Actor for Wagner Moura.
And overall, most awarded film at the Cannes Film Festival.
There you go. So everyone who hadn't seen Secret Agent yet was just like, what is going on with this movie?
Yeah.
Nominations keep coming. Words come out. Very high praise. So not only is it considered kind of the top contender for the international feature race, but it's also considered, it's nominated for Best Picture. So it is in the race in there as well. Very interesting. It is worth noting, too, this is actually the first movie that you and I have seen in theaters together for this podcast.
This is true. Kind of weird that we hadn't before.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the nice thing is when we first started talking about this back in like August or September of last year, we had talked about this being a possibility, but I told you like in October, November, December, whenever I see something that's coming out, I'm like, hey, I'm going to that.
Yeah.
So Sentimental Value, the week it was at my theater, I'm there. Hamnet, similar situation. So it lined up to where The Secret Agent was harder to see.
Yeah.
And I believe there was one showtime on one day at the theater that we go to, and we just said, hey, book it. We got to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it worked out. Because it was supposed to be on demand in January, but then the Golden Globes came out, and this pretty much just like everyone was like, hey, wow, this movie rocks. And they're like, Neon said, what if we didn't put it on digital right now and made you go to theaters to see it? Hold. But that's great because we want to see these in theaters as much as we can.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad we're able to do this.
Yeah. And I'm glad we finally got to see a movie in theaters together.
First of many.
Yeah. That being said, I say it's kind of weird that this was the first one. But really, that's my fault because you've been like, hey, man, I'm going to see this movie. And I'm like, okay, have fun. Bye. But I've just been busy.
That's true.
That being said, you didn't go see Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair with me either. So
that's true. And I had 5 hours to kill. I was just sitting there with like nothing to do for 5 hours.
5 hours to kill. What better thing to kill than Bill?
That's right. Twice.
Yeah.
Well, 2 movies.
Yeah.
He doesn't die twice, I don't think. So let's talk about Secret Agent. So let's run down. I mean, what do you want to start with nominations? You want to start with cast?
No, we'll do nominations. So this was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. Best Actor for Wagner Moura. Best Casting for Gabriel Dominguez. Best International Feature Film going to Brazil. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Best Picture. And the producer there is Emily Lesclau.
So The Secret Agent does feature, as you mentioned, Wagner Moura as Marcelo Alves, Tanya Maria as Dona Sebastiana. Ribeiro, do you have this?
Roberto
Diogenes?
Diogenes.
Would you say that?
We'll do that, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm Colombian. And
That's why I'm
time,
like, what do you got, man?
every time I have to pronounce just a South American or anything that is not, Robert, I'm like, I've got to make my grandpa proud. And I never do. So.
That's fine. Roberto Diogenes as Euclides Cavalcante? Yeah, Cavalcante. That's right.
that sounds
I got
great.
that right. That was 100% my spelling, by the way, or my writing, by the way, and not like me looking at the name. I was like, what the heck?
That was perfect pronunciation.
What did I write here?
Chicken right.
Yeah, chicken
scratch.
for sure. Isabel Zua as Teresa Victoria, Maria Fernanda Candido as Elza, and Carlos Francisco as Alexandre Nascimento.
Beautiful.
I nailed it. It's like I was there.
It's tough.
So, Secret Agent takes place in 1977 in Recife, Brazil. We are following Wagner Moura's character Marcelo as he tries to go to his new living environment where he is staying with some other individuals who are currently being placed for their own safety. And we slowly realize that Marcelo is being kept safe there from an individual that he is currently running from. And that more or less sets up the plot of The Secret Agent. Obviously, for those who are unaware, in 1977 in Brazil, there was a dictatorship in Brazil. And that was from 1964 to 1985. So this is just really in the heart of that. And we see that corruption, whether it be through the police or through the businessmen that may have more power than they should at that time.
Totally.
Let's go ahead and have this conversation. Kyle, what did you think of The Secret Agent?
So
I've been wondering how you want to have this conversation.
Yeah. So the way it happened, we sat through this movie. I was like, cool. First movie with Ryan.
2 hours, 45 minutes of runtime?
Right around there. And you turned to me and you were like, what'd you think? And I was like, I hated that movie, man. It's tough because I see lots of movies that I hate. Recently, I saw Return to Silent Hill.
Yeah.
I hated that movie.
And you have
That
such a
sucked.
love for the source material.
I do. So, unlike Silent Hill, this is a movie where I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about the Brazilian dictatorship, the political climate in Brazil. There's a lot of stuff there that I am unfamiliar with. And I often enjoy going to see movies like this because it opens your mind. It gives you a little bit of a history lesson a lot of the time for what's going on. A great example is I'm Still Here from last year or a couple years ago.
Fernando Torres.
Yeah. You really get to see what was going on in Brazil at that time. I thought that was great. This movie felt so directionless and aimless and meandering, and it was so long. And I feel bad. I felt bad after the movie. I was like, I don't want to dislike this movie as much as I do, because obviously this is important for the country and for the people of Brazil, and it's telling a very important story. I just don't know what it was, and the movie didn't get me there.
Yeah.
I mean, you liked it more than I did, though.
I did, yeah. I liked it a lot. And it was funny because I think I looked over to you and I was just so confident. I was like, man, we're both going to just high five in this theater right now, aren't we? But you didn't like it. And it's funny because you say Return to Silent Hill, and I saw that too. And can confirm dumpster fire. Just absolute what happened in this movie. With Secret Agent, it's a lot more of an objective thing, right? Where it's just kind of well, yeah, I mean, sure, it's fine, but I just didn't vibe with it, right? There's a quality difference, right? It's not that the Secret Agent looked terrible and was all this stuff. It really was just it didn't catch you. There was nothing interesting. There's no narrative that kind of kept you moving throughout it.
Right.
You just couldn't get into it. So I think that's fine. That's it's not like you're saying, hey, it's as bad as Return to Silent Hill, which now we would have to fight if you did say that.
No, yeah. Very different. Please, nobody, I'm comparing this movie to Silent Hill. That's not what I'm doing.
You said Markiplier and Wagner Moura gave the same level of performance, right? You said that right before this started?
Please stop.
Just making sure. So go see Iron Lung. So with this specifically, I had a good time with it. I really did enjoy it. You're not wrong about anything that you said. Narratively, it is pretty sparse. There isn't really something to keep it going. We're actually recording this on the day that we're going to be talking about sentimental value. I think that there is a connection between Secret Agent and Sentimental Value in terms of the, well, pardon the pun here, but the connection of the scenes to each other.
Yeah.
Where it feels kind of like, well, that's interesting. We're over here now, but we were over there. And you're not really sure what's going on with that. I think Sentimental Value does a better job of explaining why that is.
Yeah.
And Secret Agent, that's just more the style of the movie. But for me, I thought that the individual scenes, something we disagreed on, the individual scenes were interesting enough for me to be like, okay, cool, I really like that scene. Let's see where this goes. There's a scene early on. I mentioned we're introduced to Marcelo Aviles as which is portrayed by Wagner Moura. And that whole opening scene I thought was riveting. There's a scene of him pulling into a gas station. It's Carnival weekend. And at the time, there were still people pumping gas. So the guy comes out to pump his gas. And Marcelo like sees specific, or pump his car, whatever. What point is. So Marcelo actually sees a body laying in the parking lot or the open space next to the gas station. And they just have this like very frank conversation of like, yeah, I mean, like, you know, this just happened. And like, I called the cops and they're just not here yet. So we just put a cardboard box over him because that just seemed like the humane thing to do. And,
right.
Which is crazy that there's just like a dead person laying in the street. And there's this like really like great sense of tension of like there's coyotes and like dogs running around like trying to smell the body. And the guy's trying to like kick him out. And then the police pull up, but they aren't interested in the body. They're mostly interested in Marcelo's car and his registration. And it was really tense, and I thought that was really interesting. And then it just kind of, you know, fizzles and then moves on to the next scene. And that had me interested throughout the movie to wonder where this was going. And I do think that there's a moment maybe halfway through. I can't really tell. The movie is long, so it's hard to tell the halfway point. But about halfway through, there's a point that kind of like explains what's happening with the movie.
Right.
And it gives you that like clarity of, hey, this is what's happening. Here's why. And here's why you should be more interested in moving forward. And I thought that was great. I told someone in the Discord that I really like a hang of a movie. And you pointed out that you do too. Like you like a movie that just hangs and like, you know, takes a second to get there. But specifically for you, this wasn't that. This wasn't like a hang movie. It was just a movie that felt, you used the word directionless on the pod.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's kind of the problem. The movie in a way is designed to be like, hey, do you want to know what it was like to live in Brazil during this time? You're just going to be put into scenes and scenarios of just that. Like, there's nothing really going on to serve as connective tissue in a way. It's just going to be, you pull up to a gas station, there's a body in the street. That's what it's like. And I like that. Like, the opening scene was great. There was a lot of tension. It almost had, like, kind of like a Fargo feel to it in a way.
Absolutely.
And I was like, cool.
Like a sun-drenched Fargo.
Yeah. Is there going to be a mystery surrounding this body? Oh, no? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's just see where this goes. And then it really is just kind of like, oh, the cops are corrupt here. The businessmen have too much power here. And it's all of these things that I think are very interesting, but rather than sitting with, you know, this world, this real world that has existed and being like, this is what it would be like, and feeling wow, this is really terrible, this is a tough life to live, it left me feeling like, this is really kind of a boring world to live in. And that sucks because this is a life that people actually lived.
Yeah.
And that's not right for me to be like, boy, what a boring existence. But it's being presented in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, regardless of what type of movie it is, there's always an entertainment expectation from a film. And that was lacking. And that sucks for me.
It does. I mean, the interesting thing is that when this first came out and we saw it, the hype was just kind of like, man, you got to see Secret Agent. This is fire.
Yes.
Wagner Moura gives this insane performance.
Yeah.
And then I saw it, and I won't disagree with you. I was definitely like a little of the Arrested Development joke of like, her? This? And like, it's fine. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, I we'll talk about my rating later. But I did really enjoy it. But at the end, I was like, are we really talking this much about Wagner Moura's performance? Because he was good in the movie. I don't think he was the fifth best of like the year with these nominations. I think there's other people. Jesse Plemons would have been a really great fit for that fifth role or the fifth nomination. Again, not to say anything bad about Wagner Moura's performance, but he's good in the movie. There's nothing that's kind of like, oh man, he commands a screen. He's so incredible in this. He's good.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things for me that I think are interesting, but like the reason I say all this, it wasn't until after I saw the movie that I started hearing some reviews where people were like, it's going to be polarizing. Like there's people who just aren't going to be into it because it kind of demands for you just to kind of like sit in the movie. And this is a movie, and we haven't actually mentioned his name yet. Kleber Mendoza Filo is the director. And what he decides to do in this movie is he decides to use his upbringing, specifically to talk about his connection with movies and really share this story of Brazil and this dictatorship and the oppression that everyone felt because of it, and all the people that are lost, the memories that are lost because of it through movies. Not just literally making one, but Jaws has a big part of this movie.
Yeah.
There's The Omen. There's a tense scene that plays while an audience next door is watching The Omen and they're reacting to it in real time.
Probably the best scene in the movie.
I agree. I think it's the best scene in the movie. My favorite scene in the movie also happens pretty early on after we meet Marcelo. We cut to the police chief, and he and his sons are rolling up to a high school or a college, I can't tell. And they walk in, and the professor has just a whole tiger shark sitting on a table, and there's a human leg sticking out of the stomach of the shark. And now there's all these questions about like whose leg it is and like what happened here. And the police chief thinks it's involved with someone that was causing them trouble the week prior. So now they're trying to cover some things up. And like just the visual of like a high school classroom with like one of those science tables, the long tables with the black top, with just a tiger shark sitting on top of it. I was like, what is going on in this movie? Like, this is so interesting. So all of that kept me very invested. So I wasn't just kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? I was kind of planted and just I let the movie take over. But I do, look, not a surprise when a director's like, hey, we're going to talk about how people were oppressed under a dictatorship, but we're going to use Jaws and The Omen to kind of reference it. Cool, man. I'm in. Like, how am I not going to enjoy something like that? It's also worth mentioning there's a little bit of like a swerve in this where the movie just feels ultimately extremely Brazilian, especially in the beginning. Like we're putting you in Brazil, right? And then they play the song Samba in the beginning, and the radio there's a radio show on that's talking about it, and he talks about how Samba's like the song of the summer and everyone's into it, and you gotta love Samba. And he plays a bit of it, and he's like, anyways, here's Chicago if you leave me now. And then like I think the title sequence pops up with like If You Leave Me Now by Chicago playing.
Yeah.
And to me, that was kind of like the beginning of we're going to be blending in these American like ideas or these American concepts into the Brazilian culture. And that comes with Jaws. That comes with The Omen. There's other movies they mentioned too, but set in 1977, you pointed out Jaws comes out in 1975. So this is kind of like the phenomenon of Jaws existing.
Right.
So it's interesting to me that he uses like kind of a blend of the two, and that's going to polarize a lot of people, yourself included. And I've heard from some other people who are just like, yeah, I just don't get it, man. Cool, but I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I don't think that pulling the references from movies and like American pop culture and songs and things bothered me at all.
Sure.
If anything, it was just a moment I could be like,
There's your Leo moment.
I know Jaws. Yeah, I've seen that a couple times. I don't know. There's so many moments that individually are cool and interesting and kind of make you sit up in your seat and you're like, wow, a leg sticking out of a shark. Where's that going to lead? But nothing in this movie really leads to anywhere. And not to jump to the very end of the movie, but even the end kind of just comes out of nowhere and is very anticlimactic. And I don't know how to feel about it. I've struggled ever since we saw the movie with how do I make myself understand and enjoy this more?
Yeah.
And I still don't know, man. I don't know what to do. Help me.
See, this is so interesting. And like, it's kind of amazing that we're talking about movies like this many episodes into the podcast. But like, that really is like, we eat a steak dinner together and we eat the exact same thing. And you're like, I don't know, man. I'm just not enjoying it as much as you do.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I get you to enjoy this the way that I do? And there's no way to.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, hey, you're chewing it wrong. Like, it really is just, we have the exact same thing. It's just the experiences
Way
of
to
it.
call me out.
Yeah. Well, you chew weird. I'm sorry, dog. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with you for that. Like, it really is just like how it hits different people. And for me, maybe I'm looking a little deeper into it. I really like, you talk about the climax of that. I disagree because I think the climax in the movie to me is the sequence that comes right before that final scene.
Yeah,
There's a time jump. That's the thing I'll say. But prior to the time jump, I thought that scene was extremely riveting as a climax. Like the chase sequence, the events that unfurl from that, like all of it seemed really interesting to me. And I liked the idea, we're getting a little spoiler here, so hang on to this, but I liked the idea that he is continuing the concept of these things don't have a good ending. These things don't have good endings. That doesn't necessarily mean the movie shouldn't have a good ending, but like people's lives, like people are found in the street. There's a great callback to that first scene in the gas station where it's just people are not given a name. They're unknown individuals just laying on the street.
Right.
And that's just what happens in this country, and specifically with this dictatorship.
Sure.
People are just forgotten. And I thought that was interesting. What I will give you 100% on, I'm not exactly sure why Marcelo and that businessman want each other dead. Like that, to me, we saw the scene together. We know what happens.
Right.
There's a couple of things that are alluded to that could potentially be why has vengeance on the mind. There's a great scene that, well, actually, that's my quote later on, so I can't say that. But there's a scene, the tense scene that you were talking about, where Marcelo kind of opens up with Elza, his contact, about what he experienced and why he's in the position he's in. And it's this beautiful shot of him in front of, they're sitting in the theater that's owned by his father-in-law. And you can see Brazil behind him as he's telling this story, and it's so riveting. There's a scene right before that I thought the cinematography in this was fantastic. And it's Marcelo goes to the window of the theater, and the camera actually goes past his shoulder and out the window to kind of show Brazil. And like there's a bridge, and there's like a big like river right underneath it. And you see like people driving to work. And I thought that scene was amazing. So there's little tiny things that keep me going throughout it. But I agree with you that there's a little bit of a pacing issue in this.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it didn't stop me from really enjoying my time with it.
It is a bummer, man, because it's a beautiful movie. I would almost say more than any of the 10 Best Picture nominees this year, the colors in this movie are like number one.
Yep.
It's gorgeous. It's vibrant. It almost has like this Technicolor feel that I feel like every year I miss more and more, and I'm starting to understand how much I love Technicolor. But you get some of that feel in this, and it's cool. This was shot, where did I write it? Eugenia Alexandrova used Panavision anamorphic lenses and vintage film equipment to give it that like 1970s feel. So I think they do a tremendous job at capturing not just like the beauty and the vibrancy of Brazil, but also putting it in this time capsule of 1977 Brazil.
Yeah.
It feels great. It looks great. For that, I loved 100% this movie. Shots like you're talking about, like in that scene, they look great. And they're showcasing Brazil. You're getting that shot outside the window where you get to look out on this country. The locations that they filmed this are like real places in Brazil. It's filmed on location in so many different scenes. And that's cool because it's really encapsulating this culture. So I know that this is the kind of movie where, as a Brazilian, you're probably like, wow, look at this country, my country.
Yep.
And there's a sense of pride that I'm sure this instills in you just for like being a native to that land. The part where you're sitting with the atrocities and the corruption and things that happened in history probably also hit a lot harder when you have a connection to those things. That's not to say that I'm completely unable to put myself in those positions. I think the movie just has to help a little bit. And this movie doesn't really do that.
It's not interested in doing that.
No. And that's not its fault. It really is kind of just, hey, it works for some people, it works for other people. Or it doesn't work for other people.
The thing that I thought of is kind of like it's like a bus where the bus versus an Uber, right? Where an Uber's like, hey, we're going to get you there. And the bus is like, hey, man, this is where we're going. I hope you're ready for that.
Right.
Like it is heading in a direction. It's hoping that everyone on there is mostly there for the ride. So you're right that it is directionless in that sense. I think it has an end goal, and that goal is still a little vague. It's not very clear.
Yeah.
But I did very much enjoy it for those things. The thing that I thought was interesting was we talked a lot about beforehand Wagner Moura. And Wagner Moura was kind of like, hey, this guy's undeniable. We've seen him before. You may have seen him in Narcos. Specifically, he played Pablo Escobar for the Netflix series. He was also most recently in Civil War.
Yeah,
Alex
that's
Garland's.
where I know him from.
Fantastic in that movie.
He
I
is.
really, really liked him.
Yeah.
So I like Wagner Moura just fine.
He's great in Puss in Boots.
He is great. That's true. He's I was about to say the word, but I guess that's a spoiler. He's the wolf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. He is great in that movie. You're right.
Imagine coming to the Secret Agent podcast and you're like, They spoiled the wolf in Puss in Boots.
I didn't say the name, okay? Wolf is fine. You don't need to know anything beyond that. I do think it's funny, though, that they're going to come here for Secret Agent and be like, so what did Kyle and Ryan think of the Secret Agent? They really liked Puss in Boots.
It's good.
Last Wish is good.
It's really good.
It does swing. So Wagner Moura is like great. We were aware of him.
Yeah.
So I think if I wasn't aware of Wagner Moura and I saw this movie, I would be like, who is this guy? But like I saw him in Civil War and I thought he was incredible in that. So I see him in this. I'm like, I'm waiting for you to just take off, dude. Like, you're good. And don't get me wrong, he is good throughout the movie. And that scene we talked about with him talking with Elsa about everything that's happened between him and the businessman, that is great. And that's a lot of great acting from him. And there's something that happens towards the end of the movie that does require a little bit more of a performance from him than he had been given previously, at least a different kind of performance. And I thought that was interesting. But to me, that's not like, oh, yeah, you're undeniable in this, man. So I think we're glazing him a little bit in the movie. Yeah. But I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve a nomination, but definitely when we talk about like a Timothée Chalamet and a Leo DiCaprio nomination in this and the war between that, I don't think Wagner Moura is necessarily like sneaking in for the win on that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree, but at the same time, it was the Golden Globe he won, right? For
Correct.
Best Actor?
Yeah.
And obviously the voting process is completely different for the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards, but I don't know, that almost gives me a stranger things have happened kind of feel. But me personally, I agree with you. Like Leo and Timothy, and again, even Jesse Plemons, they're all kind of in a different category this year, with the movies that are stacked up against each other.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard for anybody to give like a really, really encapsulating and moving performance in a hangout movie, There's usually not a whole lot of opportunity to showcase, I don't know, a ton of different emotions. It really depends on the movie. Right. But typically hangout movies are just like, it'd be like filming you and me right now, where the most intense emotion you've had to do all day is reacting to you karate chopping the pop filter.
By the way, we're currently at the midway of the eclipse of the sun.
It's sagging a little bit.
Yeah, you see it? Okay. Just making sure you see it too.
I can see more of your eyes.
Yeah,
so I'm like, hey.
I'm seeing, the funny thing for me is I'm seeing the microphone like the sun rising in Lion King. So yeah, I'm trying my best not to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a very good performance. It's nothing more than that. And that's what's kind of a bummer, because I'd love to sit here and say, undeniable in this movie, you have to, I almost did it again. You have to see this performance that he's giving. And in reality, it's good. You should.
Yeah.
It's fine. But like, you don't have to bust down the door to go see it. What's interesting is I have some friends, some coworkers who are actually like from Brazil, who like I was able to talk to about this movie a little bit. And I asked them some questions because I feel like, to your point, there's a lot that's left out of the movie, narratively. So it wants you to know this information going in. There's a couple of shots specifically, and I do actually like these shots, even though I don't have the context for it, where people are in a room and they leave, and as they leave, the camera actually kind of like looks up a little bit and zooms in, and there's always a picture, like a portrait of an individual. So that ends up being President Ernesto Geisel, or Gazelle. We'll say Gazelle. So this was the president at the time. And what I didn't understand at that point was like, hey, I don't know who this guy is. It's not the same portrait every time, so I don't know if it's the same guy. What's going on? And in reading a little bit more about it, I really like the idea that it is the president at the time. And as these events are happening and these people are seeing these terrible things happen to them, the camera does decide to focus on this figure looking over everyone.
Yeah.
And looking, it's very intentional that the photograph is up top and everyone else is down below. And there's definitely a class thing about that, of looking down. So there's a lot of in there that we don't have the context for, but I was kind of picking it up as the movie went through, and I just assumed, okay, this is going to make sense when I do some reading on it. That's tough. Some people want to get a movie as soon as they watch it, and others want to do the research, and then that's how they feel about the movie.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things that gets brought up a lot just in day-to-day life, where it's a group saying, listen, I don't have the time or energy to explain all of this to you. You have to do your research.
Yes.
And I agree with that. I guess I kind of find it interesting that a Best Picture nominated film, and this is putting too much like hype on that title, I guess, but it's interesting that title is given or potentially given to a movie that's like, hey, you should probably do your research before you go into this and be aware of, what was going on here so that you can pick up on things like that. See photos of the president, see how people are interacting, see little things in the background or things that the camera is focusing on, and have context to that going into it. I'm okay with that, but realistically, you can't do that with every movie and every scenario and every story.
No.
So there is that. For example, one of the most memorable moments in this film involves a severed human leg hopping around late night in a park and kicking people in the face.
I looked over at you when that happened. I was like, what's going on?
Yes. It comes out of nowhere. It's bizarre. It's kind of filmed like an early Sam Raimi horror movie,
absolutely.
which I want to come back to that point as well. While we were watching it, I think we were both like, what?
Yeah.
Cool, I guess. This is fun. And after watching it, we both did a little research and we found that this was kind of an old, quote unquote, legend or myth in Recife, Brazil, where the paper and like the government was using this severed leg that was found as a form of propaganda.
The hairy leg.
Yes. Thank you. So like there's context there that like you have to know. It was used as a way to kind of cover up any type of conspiracy of like, oh, what is this leg? What's going on? And instead it was kind of molded into this horror story legend that people would focus on instead. And then, later you see, because of the shark attack and this leg that was found in there, and now the paper is printing this hairy leg story. There's a leg hopping through the park kicking people, specifically queer individuals, which is another like political angle that this story took. But now you have the movie theaters replaying Jaws. They're screening Jaws again because sharks are in the news. So now people are watching Jaws, and it's just all of this to like bury this real horror story and kind of create this myth to distract people, which is something we see a lot now.
Definitely.
In our country. But man, it comes out of left field. we have a pop culture issue. Not a pop culture issue, a pop filter issue.
Pop seems to be popping up here all the time.
It does.
I'm just going to be doing like this. Whenever I speak, I'm just going to...
Just every time you say a P, just like flash it in front of your mouth.
That's true. The pop filter has come off, everyone. So, I mean, I agree with you, and I think it's extremely well done. I'm not sure if the hairy leg story that they tell in this with like the leg that's kicking, there's a scene that you're talking about, everyone's in like a park publicly and out in the open and just like having sex and like doing things to each other.
Yeah.
And that specifically to me, that Sam Raimi sequence that you mentioned is so interesting because it does just kind of like remind you that the movie's alive. Like, hey, if you're getting sleepy, remember anything can happen in this.
Yes.
And the way it's portrayed isn't like, hey, someone's telling this story. I mean, at this point, the leg has been abducted from the morgue by the police chief's son, and then they toss it in the river. And then we see it laying from the river, and it animates and comes to life and starts kicking people. And to your point, not only does it start like kicking people, but we hear the Wilhelm scream from Star Wars in this. And I thought that was just like...
I like that you say from Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, hold on.
It came out in 1977.
There you go. Exactly my point. So to me, that's when I was like, oh, cool, we're having fun. Like if I hear the Wilhelm scream in this, I know we're having a good bit of fun.
Yeah.
And then you're right. It's revealed that, I think Teresa Victoria is reading the paper.
Yeah, I think so.
She's reading the paper because she's the one who doesn't want to reveal her real name. So she goes by Teresa Victoria. So she is reading the paper, and that's when you realize that this is just like the term that people use, like the hairy leg, and it's gone missing. So now what's happened? And people are just, well, hey, we don't have answers and we don't know what's going to happen. So we just have to start telling our own stories.
Yes.
And of course that's used for the oppression side of like, this is something that's keeping us down. So obviously the metaphor here is the government and the dictatorship that's keeping people down and kicking them while they're down.
Right.
So I liked the blend of that. But to your point, there's a lot of context that, I mean, this is more of a failure on the American school system than it is on us and our learnings, but we just don't know about this.
Yeah.
This is something we weren't like taught.
And that being said, not to like hype up the American school system, but Do you
It
expect
needs no help doing that.
do you expect to learn about like the hairy leg story in
Shouldn't we? Like when we talk about history, like isn't that like I'm not saying let's do a whole like month-long course on it, but like if we're learning about the oppression of like maybe not high school but in college, like what am I trying to say? Social study, like history, like the history of other countries and everything.
Sure.
Like, shouldn't we know some of that?
I'm not saying that if I was being taught it in school, I'd be like, what are we doing here, guys?
Play Count of Monte Cristo again.
But I would be like, wow, what a very specific moment in time to study. You know what I mean? It would be relevant. I think it's always relevant, but it is just kind of like, why'd you pick that one?
Yeah, I think my problem is that now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wanting just us to make sure that we're teaching kids about how we're being kept down from the government. And I have a feeling that like a publicly funded school isn't necessarily going to be like, hey, government sucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, never mind.
Especially today.
Yeah, good point. And that's the thing is that I think Secret Agent does play well right now because it is semi-timely, right? We talk about like the oppression and like the dictatorship and how it feels like memories and people are just kind of lost. And I think that's something that is unfortunately extremely relevant at this time. So
Yeah.
it's also a movie of it came at the right time.
For an American audience, is
Sure.
what you're saying?
Well, I think also the world is kind of watching in
Yeah.
real time. So even if it's not happening to them, it's something that is relevant.
Well, and I think that's what I was going to say. You say it's timely. I think it's timely for somebody always.
I guess what we're trying to say, it's timeless.
Sure.
Right? It's always
there
relevant.
you go.
Yeah.
It's relevant to somebody always.
At all times.
At all times. Thank you.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
I do want to recommend this movie. I do. Like it's difficult because I know this conversation that we've had and I've been eager for it since we saw the movie because I just don't know how we're going to have the whole like, you know, he's a little country, he's a little rock and roll, like try to figure out what we want to do with it. But I do want to recommend the movie, but it's probably the most interestingly put together movie of these of this nomination list.
Man, it's crazy because talking about it and talking about the individual scenes since seeing it, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was a great scene. That was also a great scene. But when I put it all together as a whole, I'm like, wow, I did not enjoy this. And I think that's wild. I do think that if I rewatched it and I kind of brushed away all of the expectation I had and all of the hype that was built around it and all of the, you have got to see this movie, Wagner Moura is incredible, and all of that, and just went back into it knowing what it was, I think that I would be able to enjoy it more, and I would pay more attention to maybe like the undertones and the little almost subliminal things that were being fed to me that I just didn't have context for, and I would enjoy it that much more. But on a first watch, it's kind of rough.
I do wonder if when you revisit it, I know.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
The pop filter going up as you go to speak.
Well, what am I
kills
going to
me.
do? Hold it up the whole time? Absolutely not.
I just wish we were a video podcast.
Well, this is more incentive to get that going. Yeah, I think I'm interested because I do think that your rating is going to be higher on a second watch. The real question is how much.
Yes.
Because for you, I foresee maybe a half, maybe a whole star, but it's not going to be like, oh, never mind, I was wrong.
Yeah, this isn't going to become a 4 or 5 star movie for me, regardless of how many times I watch it. And I think the other question is, when am I going to rewatch it?
When do you have the time?
And the interest, really.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's a problem. You see a movie that does not vibe with you, and you're like, I bet I would watch or like that more on a rewatch. But man, what if that's not true? Yeah. I really got to drag myself to a screening.
Yeah. I mean, especially like you're doing the death race and like it's basically 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Like it's tough to want to go and revisit that again. I think I'd like to. The tough thing is you always want to share it with someone who you think should check it out.
Yeah.
And like, I just don't think Taylor's going to be that interested in something like this, at least that long with like, all the context that you need. And the last thing she needs is for my dumb self to be sitting across from her is like, well, here's what you don't know about the Brazilian people in 1977.
Right. And I don't think anybody needs either one of us doing that.
Correct.
When we're like, hey, you guys should watch this. And let me tell you why.
That's why
1977.
That's why I sat myself down and listened when my coworkers were like, hey, I'm from Brazil. I'm like, tell me everything you know.
Yes, please.
Because the last thing I'm going to do is be like, well, hey, did you know that you experienced this in 1977?
Yeah. Hey, Ziggy, have a seat. Have you heard of the hairy leg? Like, nobody needs that from me.
No, they just don't need two men telling them what to feel about American history, especially not right now.
American history.
Well, history. You're right. My bad. Yeah, I mean, the last thing I want to talk about this is, the theme in this overall is the idea of losing memories. And I think there's a really, really great tie-in with Jaws. Marcelo's son says he really wants to see Fernando, I think.
Fernando.
Yeah. Fernando says he really wants to see Jaws. But every time he sees the poster, he has nightmares.
Same.
So he hasn't, who can blame him? He says he has nightmares just from the poster, so they don't want to let him see the movie. So, the whole first chapter of this movie is called A Boy's Nightmare. And you're kind of wondering what this all means. Like, why is it important that he's having these nightmares? Sharks keep popping up. The shark, with the tiger shark with the hairy leg in its stomach. There's sharks kind of all over the place in this, and you're wondering what this is referring to. Fernando, another scene, he's watching a Popeye cartoon, and there's a shark trying to attack him. So you're kind of like trying to piece together what the shark means. And the ultimate goal here is something that's revealed towards the end of the movie, where they say that, like, hey, I was just told that I'm going to keep having nightmares about something until I really confront it, and I face it head on. And when I watch the movie, even though the poster scares me, I found that the nightmares left. And that idea of being haunted and like tormented by something before you actually fully face it, and then facing it and it not being that big of a deal, and like now you're just past it, I think is, well, specifically, I think it's Clever Mendoza Filo's way of saying that, like, that's the way to stand up. That's the way to kind of like face oppression, is like, yeah, it seems really scary, but when you stand up and like you face it head on, then it's really not that bad.
Yeah.
And it is something that you can handle because you're able to handle that. And I think that's really interesting, that he kind of says this a little quietly, right? It's towards the last scene of the movie. It is just, there's a last shot that doesn't really like drive that home. But there is, without putting many spoilers out there, the idea of how a blood hospital could exist where a movie theater did.
Yeah.
And the idea of like how we are built on those memories, and like we're giving our blood on those memories, I think is really interesting. And it's not fully realized to a point where I'm like, oh man, this is a 5 out of 5. Like, you got to see this movie. But it's really close. It's so close to the idea of like, I see what you're trying to say. And if you did it a little bit more clearly to where I could fully defend it, I think I would ride for this movie real hard. But it doesn't. And for me, it's just a little distant, but it's like so close to great that I really want to give it credit for that.
Wow. Do I want to rewatch this movie like tonight?
I have that feeling.
It's so weird.
I have that effect on people, is what I mean to say.
Totally. Because the memory thing, when we first got out of the movie, I was like, okay, sure, I guess. I don't know. And maybe I had like...
I just walked out. I was like, it's about memories, Kyle. You're like, fine.
I was like, whatever you say, dude. I don't know. But, sometimes you walk out of a movie you didn't enjoy and you're just kind of mad and you're like, hey, go ahead and try to tell me why I should like this. I'm not listening. But like the more we talk about it now, the more I'm like, okay, maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe this movie never like straight up shows you like this is what it was like in Brazil and why it was awful. Like you see that kind of just, you're living in it, and the metaphor, the analogy right there with Fernando as a little boy being afraid of the shark. And it is kind of just in his life. Like there's the story of the shark in the newspaper. There's the Popeye cartoon. Jaws is back in theaters. Like he's living in it and he's afraid of it. And then when his dad doesn't let him watch it. But again, in that big reveal at the end, you learn that his grandfather showed him Jaws, right? That's the whole reveal there.
That's correct. Yeah, and he's the scene the moment that I really like about that scene is that he talks about like he knows about his father, but he just hasn't like had that much of an experience with him, so he just wasn't that close with him. And while he says all of those things very defiantly of like, well, hey, my grandfather really was my father figure at that point. And there's like a little a pause. And then he just slowly reaches for a drive in front of him that has all the memories of his father.
Right.
And he just puts it in his pocket. And I thought that was great because it was that admittance of like, he wasn't there. And I hold that against him a little bit. But am I going to be the thing that stops us forgetting our past?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to continue to forget our past like we as a country have for our people? And I thought that was a nice little uplifting thing of him grabbing the drive and putting it in his pocket, because that's an admittance of, I'm going to try and learn. Like,
yeah.
I want to know more about our history.
And it's also a thing where like, clearly there's some trauma there of, I didn't have a great relationship with my father and I don't know him that well. So this object here that has all of this information on my father, it kind of freaks me out. It kind of scares me a little bit. And I don't know if I want to have anything to do with that. but he does reach for it. And it's him sitting down to watch Jaws in a way, because he knows that that's important. It's important to maintain memories and hold on to that, even if it is scary. So I don't know. There's a lot, I think, in the last, whatever it is, 15 minutes or so, that I think does tie in a lot of themes and concepts from the movie altogether. I wish that the rest of the movie felt more cohesive narratively, especially, I can't tell you how upset I was about Marcello's ending.
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
A whimper.
Yeah, and that's more of what I meant as far as the climax goes, because there is like a great chase sequence directly before that, and you're like, okay, this played out, and things are good, everything's okay, and then it's just, oh, and by the way, the end for the movie.
And
really.
that's what sucks, is that I do think that's intentional. I think the movie is doing that on purpose, because that is very much, making... I mean, look, you've made it this far into the podcast, so hopefully you see Secret Agent. And if you haven't, just stop the podcast.
Yeah, major spoiler alert.
Major spoiler alert in this. Marcello's body was reported in the newspaper as just found dead in the streets.
That's it.
I think specifically he was face down, which is interesting because I do think it was a similar situation with the body at the beginning of the scene or the movie. And I think there's no... It's intentional that his body does reflect... I think they even cuts back to... that body at the gas station, because it's making that comparison of he is just another body. He is a forgotten name. He is just a forgotten soul that the police don't care about.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens. People die and we don't know what happens, and we can't say what happened or why it happened. And I thought that was very intentional of them to say. That doesn't make it a good ending. It doesn't make it something that we're like, okay, well, I'm at peace with that because that's just what happened back then.
Yeah.
But it makes you confront that. And it confronts you with the idea that these people are lost and we don't know why, we don't know what happened, and we may never know what happened. We have, the hairy leg and everything to kind of make stories that make us feel more comfortable with the idea of knowing what may have happened, but we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think making us feel that way was very intentional for then Fernando's scene, where he talks about how he doesn't know these things about his father, and he just really wasn't that close, and he's not like, he just doesn't have much information to give, but he's still willing to receive that information. Maybe reluctantly at first because it took him a second to grab it. But I thought that was really, really, impactful. I thought that was a great final scene. Now, again, it takes time. And you and I have the benefit of it being almost a month since we've seen this movie, a couple weeks. So we had some time to think about it, and me specifically do some research. I know you've done some research too. And I feel more connected with it. I think my rating stays the same.
Yeah.
But I feel more connected with the ideas in it. And I am excited to go back and watch this because it was impactful in that. I'm not going to say it's in the top 3 or maybe even 5 of the nominations list, but I did enjoy my time with it. I think my main takeaway is just Wagner Moura is pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to kind of be like the person where I'm like, hey, Timothy and Leo, sorry, it's not your year.
Right.
But I do think it is still very much their race, and Wagner Moura just gives a good performance in this.
Yeah. And my biggest takeaway of things I enjoyed was... the visuals, the colors and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's a striking movie. It's pretty. I like color.
Bold take.
Yeah.
Huh. I'll have to make sure we put that on here that you Kyle likes color. Interesting.
Man, even that, saying that, not the color thing, but him just kind of being like, he fizzles out. He's in the newspaper. You don't see him get killed. You don't see anything like that. And then Fernando being reluctant, but being like, I wish I knew more about my father, but I'm going to have to kind of push myself and like get over this hurdle of being mad or whatever. It's almost a mirror of my feeling about the movie, where I'm like, boy, I wish I knew more about all this. Oh, I probably have to do a little work to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that it works out that way.
One final thing I want to talk about is, for anyone who is interested in seeing the movie, the title, The Secret Agent, a little deceiving. I think we're meant to believe that there is a double agent aspect to Marcello in his life.
He's got 2 names.
It's true. So technically, but it's more so, again, kind of connecting through movies, because while he's in his father-in-law's movie theater, he does see, I believe, a trailer. It might be the movie that's playing, but a trailer for a movie called The Secret Agent. And you can kind of see him looking at it. And to me, what this meant was he was kind of seeing himself in that. And he was thinking like, okay, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I don't think he thinks himself that important in that sense, but I think that he does kind of see, the different names, living or working in the police chief station. Like he sees that as like his responsibility, like his job that he's doing.
And him like researching information on his mother.
Because he has absolutely no information on his mother and he's looking for her documents and we don't know if he found it or not. So another great example of we've lost our memories and we're just trying to find our way back to it.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of like a tongue-in-cheek reference to the name The Secret Agent here. I don't want anyone thinking they're getting like a movie of espionage and intrigue. It really is more about the memories that we lose through an oppressive dictatorship like this. So I really enjoyed my time with it overall. It was a little surprising from everything I had heard about it. It was a little less high on it than I thought I would be, but still very good. I'm really interested to talk more about this with Madi because Madi has this experience and this knowledge, and I want to hear her thoughts on the movie specifically. She shared a little bit once you and I said that we had watched it. By the way, join the Patreon so you can come talk to us on Discord about it. But that's something I'm interested to continue to learn more about this to see how I feel about the movie. But it's a tough ask for people to say, hey, see this movie, but also there's a history lesson behind that you're going to have to do that the movie's not going to teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the Patreon, though, because that is one of the coolest things, I think, for you and me, is having that Discord and a place where we can talk with people.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm calling you out again, Bryce.
It's just all drama. Yeah. We're coming for you, Bryce. No, but yes, because Madi is from Brazil. Not to dox Madi. Good luck finding her in like the biggest country in South America.
She's listening to this episode just like, oh no.
Time to secret agent. No, but
please don't go by the name Ryan.
Yeah, it does give us an opportunity to talk about people who have more context in regarding these movies or movies in general, and just it's nice to have that community. So again, we are running a promotion right now until the Oscars this year. Sign up for the Patreon for free. It doesn't cost you anything at all, and you do get an invite to the Discord where we can chat. We're also doing a watch party at the end of February. Actually, the day this episode drops, February 27th.
If you're listening to this episode on release day and you haven't already joined the Patreon, make sure you do so you can join the Discord. And at 8 p.m. tonight Eastern, you can join us for our watch party of Sinners.
Yeah, to get ready for the episode that's coming next week. Hooray.
Of Sinners.
But yeah, back to Secret Agent. I want to rewatch it so bad.
I got you.
More than I think any other movie that has been nominated for Best Picture.
I think it earns it the most.
Yeah.
I think all the other ones, it's kind of like, hey, I'm sure maybe I'll sit a little differently with this, but mostly my feelings are the same. With this one, it's like, man, I need to come back to this.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you for not feeling that in the moment.
Yeah. Bummer. One last little tidbit before we get into ratings and double feature. So this was picked up by Neon, which...
It was an international feature, so of course it was.
Yeah. And... A production company put it together was Cinemascopia, and this is Kleber Mendoza Filo's production company with his wife, Emily Lesclau, who I said is the producer of the movie. So that's cool. Husband and wife just being like, hey, let's make some movies, And then getting nominated for Best Picture, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten a lot of nominations and a lot of awards. And again, like the Cannes Film Festival is nothing to bat an eye at with like getting those awards. So congratulations to them.
Hey. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's kind of a pivot. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because this is nominated for Best International Picture, and this is the first one that we'll be talking about, we also have Sentimental Value coming out. How do you think this fares in that category?
Oh, I think it's going to win.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it is. I think you can never count out Brazil and their representation. They always ride hard for their movies.
Yeah.
I foresee it happening. I think there's a lot of great nominations. I haven't seen The Voice of Hind Rajab, nor have I seen Surat just yet. But having seen Sentimental Value and Secret Agent and, oh Lord, why am I blanking on the fifth? It Was Just an Accident? Yes. I did love all three of those. I don't think Secret Agent is my favorite, but I do think it's the one that's probably going to end up getting the win in international feature. One thing that I want to mention very briefly here is we never really talked about casting.
I'm glad you brought it up.
I do think this is kind of a surprise with casting. One Battle, Sinners, Sentimental Value. There's a lot of great casting you can talk about there. And the cast here is good. Although I don't necessarily think it's a movie that's held up by its cast. I think it's held up by Wagner Moura maybe the police chief, and then mostly Donna Sebastiana. Like, she's incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think she is kind of like a discovery from what I've heard, or at least people are now like, who is she? She's great in this movie.
Yeah, she is.
Everyone else is pretty good.
There are so many like minor characters that show up in this movie that, and it's one of those things too that's kind of unfair because the other casting nominations that we've seen, we've been able to like go back and look at what they've done in the past, and it's like, wow, look at all these major American movies, big Hollywood movies that they've casted for in the past, and just again, like one battle after another. It's like, oh, okay, I know Leonardo DiCaprio, I know Sean Penn. Same thing with Sinners. Like, we're aware of all these actors, and these are all probably big stars in Brazil.
Sure.
You know, and everybody plays their part perfectly, really. And there are so many, again, little cast members and characters. It's just one that, I don't think we have the context for to really appreciate the nomination.
No, you're right. And again, like, this is the tough thing is I have to remind myself that it's casting and not cast, right? So
Yeah.
the casting of those characters, it's good. It is good. I don't think it's the best of those nominations.
Yeah.
But the cast is, or the casting of the movie is pretty solid.
So right now, I think we're looking at this will probably win Best International Picture.
I think so.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think so. Wagner Moura, I don't think is going to get the win on this. Cool to be nominated. Casting, I don't think is going to get the win in picture. I just don't see it happening. Certainly not if it's going to win Best International.
No, yeah. And I don't even know if I agree with you on Best International, but
I'm not going to say it's my favorite international. I have a theory that we'll talk about on the next episode. That's a little foreshadowing for you.
okay. I'm excited for that.
You only have to wait 30 minutes. You, Kyle. Audience has to wait a couple more days.
I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, that's The Secret Agent. You want to get into ratings?
I do. I actually have both of ours up. Do you have yours?
I do have mine.
Great. I don't think it's a big surprise from what I talked about. I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars for me.
Wow.
I thought I was a little higher. I thought I did 4.5, but I'm glad I did 4 because I do think I'm about at 4. With a rewatch, maybe that changes, but I did really enjoy my time with it. I thought it was really interesting. I think anything that I didn't know is mostly on me. I think the thing that kept me from a star or even like a 4.5, the additional star, I mean, is that I do feel like the movie doesn't want to hold your hand through some things.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of stuff that you and I don't know that I kind of need some hand holding through. So if you have to do the research, I don't think that makes a bad movie, but it does make me feel a little less connected to it.
Yeah.
So 4 stars is pretty solid for me.
I love that our ratings aren't higher for us being like just dumb Americans.
Yeah.
It's like,
True.
yeah, this would have been 4.5 if I was smart. Like, that's that. No, but I'm speaking for me too. Don't think I'm calling you dumb.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think I did myself on that.
Yeah.
Call myself dumb.
If anything, I'm the dumber one because I'm like, I gave it 1.5 stars because I'm just that I almost said unknowledgeable.
Yeah.
That just goes to show.
That's the point.
Thanks, American school system.
I thought it was interesting that your actual written review here was My Brain Hurt.
Did I write that?
No, you absolutely did not.
I was like, oh God.
Man, how crazy would that be if you forgot you wrote a review?
That would just back up this whole conversation even more. Not only am I dumb, but I am suffering from some major memory loss, which is what the movie's about.
Hey, it's almost like it wants you to feel that dumb.
Yeah, I think this could go up a lot for me. I think there's lots of room for it to go up.
I would like to hear your rating of this.
Didn't I just give it 1.5 stars?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh.
My bad. I was like, because I was looking, I was like, God, that's low.
We are Tommy, like Pinball Wizard. We are deaf, dumb, and blind.
Well, I'm holding up, and I'm also holding up a pop filter in real time. So
That's true. We're not even good at pinball. Like, we're the worst.
this is the first of 2 recordings today. My God.
Let's get into double features.
Let's do it.
Jeez.
I'd like to hear yours. I told you mine.
Yeah.
In the theater, actually.
Oh, I don't want to say I forgot it because I'm already on a bad streak with the memory.
Again,
thing
you're
now.
keeping the memory game alive. Do you want me to go ahead?
No. Let me go first.
Okay.
Because mine is kind of uninspired. I went with I'm Still Here from 2024. I mentioned it earlier.
Sure.
By Walter Sales. This is another film from Brazil. It was nominated for Best International Feature for that year's Academy Awards. And I gave this movie 3.5 stars when I saw it. I think that it's kind of the uninspired pick because it is that Brazilian film. It deals with the political climate during the dictatorship. And I just think it follows more of like a traditional narrative path that I enjoyed more. And like, that's really all it is. Super uninspired, but that's what I would pair it with.
But not uninspired, because I think you're right that like there's a way to share the history that is unknown by most people, and you're doing a double feature of the flashy with the knowledgeable, informative. So no, that's a great pick. I went with a less fun pick on that. Well, not less fun, but less, I went wild with it. I told you in the theater while I was watching it that there's a movie that came to mind, and you talked about how not disconnected but disjointed some of these scenes were, where it's just like, hey, this really didn't have much to do with this last one, and where does this piece together, and why are we over here, and what's going on with this leg, and what's the police chief up to, and why on earth am I following like their Italian son or whoever that, you remember that? He had like a Italian son for some reason. There's like, hey, which son do you want to talk to? The white one? I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we're addressing that he's Italian. Great. So that made me think of Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction also felt like a continuation of, or not continue, a combination of multiple scenes, some that bleed together, some that don't, and more just the idea of what Brazil was at the time. It felt like they were trying to tell the Brazilian version of Pulp Fiction with the tiger shark, with the leg sticking out, with that whole hairy leg sequence, with the chase sequences and some of the deaths that happen. It feels very much like Kleber Mendoza Filho was trying to give his version of Pulp Fiction in this.
Interesting.
So I would say Pulp Fiction, and I feel really strongly about that.
That's so interesting. Because I see the connective thread there. I feel like the secret agent gets to the final act and says, okay, this is the part where I tie it all together, and then just doesn't.
Yeah. Well,
like, JK.
Yeah. He's like, maybe in his head, he's like, well, I did, right? Because if you think about it this way, you're like, okay, never mind.
Yeah. No, but I like that. I like the multiple threads coming together kind of thing.
Yeah, not necessarily as good as, similar to your pairing with I'm Still Here, but definitely worth watching these two together if you want to kill 5 hours.
That sounds like Kill Bill, which you could have solved.
Another 5 hours, yeah,
anyway.
right.
But yeah, that's I'm Still Here. That's what we thought of it. That's what we think you should double feature pick with it.
It's The Secret Agent, but you did pair it with I'm Still Here.
You're right.
Wishful thinking on your part.
American school system strikes again. Guys, thanks for listening. Rate and review the podcast. If you want to give us your thoughts on The Secret Agent,
nailed it.
Shoot us an email over at outapodcast@gmail.com. And those, again, I don't think we've mentioned this in a while. We read those responses on our ceremony episodes, which will be coming out March 16th, the day after the Academy Awards air. And yeah, I mentioned the Patreon, patreon.com/OUTAO podcast. And I think that's all I've got.
Sounds like it's it to me.
Sweet. So, thanks for listening. As always, I'm your host, Kyle.
And I'm not a violent person, but this guy, I would kill him with a hammer. I'd smash his whole head with a hammer.
And we'll see you at the movies.